Hey, Blastroid here, back again with another mini game save. Man, a lot this year with patch 5. This time we're actually creating some new dice, so we're creating some new dice games. 8 games in particular here. Let's go ahead and go up in the game room and I'll show you what we got. Alright, so this is the game room and you're surrounded by all your choices here. Even some decorations going on. Got you some items, jetpacks and detonators and fireworks and a lot of goodies here in case you want to grab them. Let's go ahead and start with, let's do Satisopoly first. In front of everything there's a little description of each game and how many players you can play up to. A lot of these have been adapted from dice to, from cards to dice, or we changed the rules up a little bit to help work in Satisfactory, but most of them are true to what their intention are supposed to be. So this is Satisopoly, and of course you know it from Monopoly. So we created a nice little board here for you to play. We have all your property information on the wall here, so you know what the rent is, the house for the house cost, hotel cost. The premise is you're basically going to go grab one of these signs, and this is going to be your character, and anytime you buy property you can paste it right there on the sign, so we know who owns which property pretty easily. The other cool thing is you can grab a little character here. Let's say I want to be the doggo, and if you want to remember exactly which square you're on, you can place your doggo on that square, and you've got your little game piece going on. Also on this board is your bank. So you start out with $1,500 and hopefully you go up from there. Most people go down, and I have not figured out how to flip the board over in order to quit the game properly, but a few instructions up here. The only big difference here is community chest and chance are now rolls, so depending on which roll you get, you go there. Couldn't put the cards in the game for some reason, but you know, what are you gonna do? Here's how you roll the dice. You just basically turn the power on this switch and items go through, turn it off, and that is my roll. Looks like I've got snake eyes the very first chance, but look at that. Because I rolled 2 concretes, which is equal to a 1, so total would be a 2 on the square, and I would move 2 spaces, of course. And that's pretty much how the dice work. They're pretty awesome. It's very, very randomized. I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick sneak peek behind the scenes, because every single game has the same thing. It's basically a truck station which stops the flow of the items, and then a ton of splitters and mergers and different speed belts, and we have 50 of each items of the 6 different items on the belt right there to make this happen. But it's very, very, very randomized. Probably the best dice we've created in this game so far, so they work really good. And that was the inspiration of this entire save level, is once we got those dice going really good, what games can we create that shows off the power of Satisfactory dice? And that's what we're showing right now. Let's go ahead and go on to the next one. I did space these out quite a bit because a lot of them use a lot of signs. So by spacing them out, they run a little bit smoother. I think I'm getting close to 100 frames a second right now. So I'm very, very happy with that. Most of my games end up at 10 frames a second. War is actually a card game we converted over to dice. Used to in the card game, whoever had the highest card gets those cards and they win. We did a little twist on it here. I'll show you what it looks like. Alright, for this one, you're going to pick a side. You're going to roll your dice. Go ahead and stop it here, and it looks like the highest is number 6, and then the other person rolled a 3. So this person, you're all going to grab a novelist and some detonator, and you're going to heal up once, only once. So this person is going to throw a novelist at this person and hope to injure him, and then whoever lives basically is the winner. So this person can only stay in these 2 squares, and they can dodge, you know, a little bit here and there. And try to survive. So it is a true game of war in a sense there. Alright, let's go ahead and go on to the next one. Alright, our next game is Texas Hold'em Poker, and I'm actually in Texas, so I love to play this game. It's basically a poker game where you have 3 rounds. You're going to have 2 cards of your own, and then you can use 3 of the 5 community cards to make a hand. We did have to change up the rules a little bit. Let's go ahead and look at those here. Roll dice in your room, place bets in the center room, then roll the dealer 5 dice. Usually you roll 3 dice, you bet, you roll another card, then you bet, and then you roll the last card. This one, it's only going to be 2 rounds of betting. And then your hands are here on the board. Straights are actually out because of this method. With only 2 rounds, straights are very, very common for this type of because you have no suits. We don't have hearts and diamonds and all that kind of stuff. So just be aware of that. Every player gets their own room here where they'll roll their own dice. Let's see what I got. I got a queen and a jack. Oh, that's a pretty good hand. Let's see what the community dice holds for me. All right. Oh my, I got a 4 of a kind. Actually, no, I got a full house. I got, well, 4 of a kind beats a full house. I'll take the 4 of a kind because I want to use the 3 jacks, and I already have a jack over there with a queen. Queen's out even though it's here because I'm going to be using those 3 jacks. So that's a really good hand. You can't beat me on that one. I'm going to bet a lot of money. All right, so that is Texas Hold'em in dice. All right, next game is a game I've actually never even heard of called Shut the Box. It's supposed to be like a kind of a betting bar game. I don't hang out too many bars myself, but you may recognize this game. A lot of these we kind of looked up and go, what are some very common popular dice games? Because I don't play a lot of dice games myself either, but this is one that kept coming up over and over, and it looked pretty simple to recreate. So let's kind of explain how to do this one. You have 2 dice, but you can actually control them individually. So I can control this dice on the left, I can control this dice on the right. So what you're going to do is you're going to roll the dice. You can either play this 2 ways. You can just do a score, or you can actually place bets like a betting game. And you're trying to roll something that's going to score on these lights here. For example, if I roll a 5, what are the different combinations I can get to 5? Well, 5 itself equals 5, 4 plus 1 equals 5, and 3 plus 2 equals 5. So I have that combination to deal with. I can either turn off only light 5, I can turn off 2 and 3, or I can turn off 4 and 1. So your goal is to turn off all the lights and come up with the lowest score possible is the way to do it. So once I've scored, I can now play again. So I'll roll again, and I will see what combinations I come up with, and hopefully I have a valid play to actually turn off a light. Now, if you do bet and you turn off all the lights, you get double the winnings that you bet. So that's a cool thing. If you don't turn off all the lights and you have no more valid moves, you basically add up your score. And I placed it up here, you can keep your score. And then whoever has the lowest score wins, because you want to try to turn off as many lights as possible. So it's a pretty cool little game of luck and combinations here. But a little bit of math skill, because you gotta know your 8s and your 1s and your 7s and your 6s. All right, another game, Backgammon. Backgammon is actually one of my all-time favorites. Dad, growing up, he actually won a Vegas tournament a couple times and really good in Backgammon. I was never that great, but I enjoy the game, and it reminds me of my long-lost dad. But it is a classic pip-type game, but it does have dice, so we put it in here. And you can see here we have a board. You're basically trying to get your pips off of one side of the board. If you left one pip on one space, somebody can come up and jump in your head and throw you to the center of the board, and you got to do it all again. It's, like I said, it's a very old classic game. This one, you're basically going to use your paint gun. You're going to copy these 5 colors, and you can put them on your hotbar. And that way it's easier to paint. And like I'd say I moved that pip there, I would unpaint the top one, and then I'd paint whatever I moved it to red. There are some instructions on the board, but this one has a little bit more techniques and things involved. There's a doubling cube down here. There's a lot kind of going on, more than I could probably put on the board here. If you already know how to play, that's great. If not, I put a little URL for some quick instructions on exactly how to play that. Just use your web browser and go to it. If you don't trust my URL, just Google Backgammon rules too. There's tons of places that show you how to play that game. Alright, moving on. Next is truly a dice game. We are talking about Farkle. And Farkle, pretty much if you buy it in the store, you're going to get an instruction manual and some dice. Alright, here we are in Farkle. Instructions are fairly simple on this one. You roll until you want to bank your points, or you have no valid points at all. Now, if you don't have any valid points, that's called a Farkle. Scream it out because it's a cool word. If you do use all 6 of your dice, you get something called a hot points, and you can keep re-rolling. So how to score? Well, one, if you get a 1 or a 5, or 3 1s, or 3 2s, or 3 3s, or 3 4s, or 3 5s, or 3 6s, or a total straight, or 3 pairs, that is how you're going to score. Now, whoever gets 10,000 points first is the winner. Now, there again, every single roll, you have to get a valid score in order to continue on. Now, you can stop anytime you want and bank those points, but if you continue on and you don't get a valid score, tough luck. Your round's over. You got this big 0, goose egg. So it's really, really hard when you get down to that 2 or 3 dice left to do it, because every time you stop a dice and score on that dice, you can't use that dice. You only, let's say I stop this one right here. I only have 4 dice to roll now. Let's say the next roll I use 2 more dice. Well, now I only have 3 more dice, and now if I use 2 more dice for scoring, I got down to 1 dice. I pretty much have to roll a 1 or a 5 to continue on. And what is that? 20% chance? 40% chance, I think, of rolling that 1 or a 5. Not too good odds, but it can happen. But if I do roll that, I can keep going. I can now roll all 6 again. So it's a kind of a chance game here. Really cool game. Definitely try it out. I think you'll enjoy Farkle, and it's a cool word to say. Alright, next we have, everybody has to know Yahtzee, right? It's what you scream out when you roll 5 dice at the exact same numbers. Yahtzee! So that's what we're going to see here. Alright, pretty much the instructions are none, because you're going to have everything written here on the board. It's going to say, okay, when you roll, let's say you want aces. Well, how many 1s can you roll? And you get 3 rounds of rolling. You can roll all 5 dice all 3 times if you want. There again, if you roll and you get a 1 or a bunch of 1s, you might want to put it on the aces, or 2s or 3s or 6s, and there's straights and small straights and full house. I've got little signs here kind of telling you what each one means in case you've never played before. If you get a Yahtzee, you get 50 points. You get to place it here, and then bonus Yahtzees, you get the number here multiplied by 100. So Yahtzees are amazing. They'll make you win the game. If you can't score at all, then you basically going to come here and you're going to turn off the emission strength, and that's kind of block that out. That you can't score on that anymore. But there again, if you're really unfamiliar with Yahtzee and you don't understand the board, just go online and find some extra rules. Might help you out. On a lot of these games, there's actually variation. So if you Google the game itself, you might find a different method of play. Create your own rules. I really don't care exactly how you do it, as long as you're having fun. That's all I want you to do. All right, let's see what our next game is going to be here. And our last game here is Ludo. Now, Ludo actually has a lot of different names. Ludo, to me, is Parcheesi or Trouble here in America. I'm pretty sure it has some other names too, but Parcheesi and Trouble is what I named or know it. But Ludo is also a very common one. That's the reason I chose it. It's only 4 letters too. A lot easier to make the sign than Parcheesi. I'd probably misspell it anyway. But it's a classic game of you have 4 pips and you're trying to move them clockwise around the board by rolling 1 dice. So you only get up to 6 spots at a time. And then once you get closer back to your home base, you'll see this kind of a ramp here. Let's say my pip was right here. Well, in order to get to my home base, I have to either roll a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. And I'm trying to get all 4 of my pips up on the home base first before anybody else. Now, if I already had a pip on 1, I could only roll a 2, 3, or 4 to get my home thing. Or I could move this guy up 1 more if I rolled a 1. So you can't jump on your head. You can jump on your opponent's head. When you jump on your opponent's head, you move them back all the way back to their home base. And I love it. Right when an opponent gets close to moving up that ramp, you can jump on their head and send them all the way back, and they cry, cry, cry. Now you can't jump up there on somebody else's home base. That is or your finish line. That is only your finish line. So really cool game here. I think it's going to be awesome. But yeah, that is what we have in store for you with dice in Satisfactory. And the funny thing is about the new dice, they could have been created before patch 5. I don't know why I didn't come up with this system before. All it is a bunch of mergers and splitters and a truck station. We've had those for a while. So I wish I would have come up with this last year, but it is here now. It is what it is. Definitely enjoying creating these games for you, and I hope you enjoy it. Leave a comment, remark. If you want other games you thought might be good in Satisfactory, drop a note. I'm not promising anything, but I get bored quite a bit, so I might create another version of this with 8 more games if we can think of that many. But until the next time, also I forgot to mention, description down below, you'll see the save download. Put them in your thing, and you're free to use it. If you're a streamer or you want to play this in multiplayer, go for it. I give you my permission for all uses of this. I want to share my creations, not just keep them bottled up in my own computer. But until next time, have a blast.